So, gamers, let's talk about the hospitality industry. Now, hopefully, you guys know what the hospitality industry is, but I'll give you a quick little rundown of what it is. Basically, it's hotels, cruises, anything that you're going to stay at while you're vacationing or on travel. If you fucking travel to do your business trades or whatever the fuck you're doing with your travel, you're going to stay at a hotel so that you have somewhere to sleep, you get some possibly food, have a bathroom, all that shit, so you have shelter. And this isn't just for business shit. It's also for if you take your family out to Disneyland. You stay at that Disney hotel. That's a part of the hospitality industry. Now, the biggest issue with the hospitality industry, and it's being emphasized critically right now, is the fact that it completely relies on the world doing good. They're completely dependent. It's called a normal good. Whereas people's incomes increases, the spending on it increases. So if you have a shit ton of money left over after you pay for your house, pay for your food, whatever the fuck, you're gonna go vacation or some shit like that. And the more money everyone has, the better the hospitality industry does. We see this huge in Vegas. When the economy and the world, when the global economy is just fucking booming, like a good example right before COVID, Vegas is fucking packed. Everyone's going out gambling their money away because, it's fun. They have the opportunity to, they got the extra income. Why not fucking do that shit? And, that brings us to our first big flaw. It's called a demand side supply shock or demand side shock, something like that. Anyway, in short, what happens is something big happens, for example, COVID, and, you know, something like that happens and it just fucks up everything everywhere. Nobody's earning as much money as they want, and nobody has opportunity to spend the money on hospitality. If you go look at a fucking stock chart of fucking Royal Caribbean cruises, they drop like 90%. No, it's not fucking 90%. They're like less than that, but an absurd amount, and it looks like their companies have a massive scandal, like fucking the CEO's raping everybody or some shit like that. It looks god awful, and the issue with that is these kind of shocks are pretty fucking consistent. If in economics you learn that it's pretty common for the world to go in recessions and then growth periods. It's just kind of on and off. You're always going to have some recessions. And, during the growth periods, the hospitality industry, they fucking body. It's like the same as the entertainment industry. They get like super hyped, they're making these buku dollars. But as soon as the depression area hits, it goes all downhill. They're making like a third of their money. And that's a big flaw. Now, of course, we can't imagine the world without these industries. There's a way to fix it. I mean, I I think they're going to be always naturally flawed, but I think there's some things that should be done and within the corporation in general. I think their savings should drastically increase. I think government programs should encourage that, specifically within the hospitality industry. I think there should be programs that encourage the hospitality industry to save their money and, have the opportunity to stay afloat during those recession periods. But, kind of defining the hospitality industry is hard. You know, we have the obvious ones like Wyndham. They're a massive hotel industry. You see them fucking everywhere. Everyone's staying at them because they're a chain. And, you would obviously, that's a hospitality industry. Would you consider cruises a hospitality industry? Technically, yes. They're providing bed, shelter, but they also have an entertainment aspect to it, which is, there's like celebrity cruises, I believe, where they have like celebrities on board, shit like that, It's a combination of not just hospitality, but also like entertainment and a lot of food too, obviously. If you're going to fucking cruise and eating some food, that trash shit. But the issue is now, what else can fall under hospitality? Airbnb, is that a hospitality, or is that more like a gig business, like Uber? Like, it's kind of weird. Do you help them out? I would argue yes, because they're obviously getting negatively affected by that shit. But we have to figure out where to draw the line. Like, it's just such a complicated thing. Like, to some extent, a hospital can be considered hospitality when you recover, and you have the aid of the nurses and the medical professionals, but you also have the room and shelter. That's like low key hospitality. Now, do you help them out during a session? Probably not, because this is true in America. If you know we already made fun of our healthcare system, but a hospital in America is a business, and during recession, sadly, the cases of hospitalization, things like that, increase because people have less access to money. So they might not be able to afford the drugs they need to survive. So that increases their chance of like having a heart attack, a stroke, something like that. This is not just true during pandemic times. This is a general thing that happens. There's just less access to being safe at home. You're more prone to infection if you can't afford as many antibiotics, shit like that. So they're kind of inversely related, where they kind of get better with the depression and worse off with growth. It's similar with the philosophy of horse girls, where there was there horse girls were living disproportionately longer to other types of girls, and we're like, why the fuck is this happening? Is it the activity they have with the horses? Do horses make people happy? No, it's just because horse people who own horses tend to have more money because they can afford that large land. They can afford to feed a horse, which requires a shit ton of fucking food. They can maintain all this shit without any issues, and that's how like the hospital industry is kind of benefiting off of a depression. They earn more money, well, specifically in America. So now, should they receive help? Probably not, because they're going to be becoming better. Now, this should also apply to entertainment industry too. Let's be real. Like, you can't fucking, no one's going to a fucking concert right now, or musicians are struggling. But then this brings us to a different issue, especially during COVID, of what happens when diseases fucking destroy everything, right? This is only really prevalent right now. We're probably not going to experience anything in our lifetime. Hope not. But can you survive? You have the same people. You have different people using the same door over and over. Hundreds, thousands of people walking through that same door. How do you keep that safe? Do you just hire someone to sit there and watch the door? As soon as someone goes through it, you just go, oh, wipe that shit down, shit like that. Now, I I don't have a direct answer. Obviously, no one does. If you had an answer, there would be no issue right now. But I want to encourage you guys just to that's some food for thought. What the fuck do you do during times like this? Anyway, let's talk about a different flaw within the hospitality industry, and that is that a lot of them take an absurd amount of pride in being, hey, we're diverse, but this is mostly focused in America. But the issue is they just tend to hire minorities because a lot of the jobs, like a stereotype is a cleaning lady is going to be Hispanic. We have the the fucking Family Guy episode with you're like, oh, no lemon pledge, or whatever the fuck. But we have all these stereotypes, and that's because they tend to be true. Now, are we to be praising these hospitality companies for being so inclusive, or are they just saving money? That's the weird thing about it. A lot of people praise, especially Wyndham, for being such a great inclusive company. They have their Inclusion by Wyndham initiative. I believe that's what it's called. And is that really fucking good? If they're just trying to save money and source the people who are willing to take the least amount of money, is that really a good thing? Do we want them to be paying people low? People like, new migrants to the country? Do you want them to be earning less money and then be praising them for that? I don't really think so. And I think the final flaw is a lot of their environmental impacts are garbage. Let's talk about the Royal Caribbean. I believe I mentioned that earlier, but one of their biggest things is, virtually they have zero water stress. Because water stress is a comparison to how much they're quote unquote damaging the water within an area. But since they're fucking moving constantly and they're dealing with the entire fucking ocean, every single fucking ocean, in comparison, they're doing no water damage. They could be polluting 60 million gallons of water a year. But the ocean's so fucking huge, it doesn't matter. It seems like they're not polluting at all. And that's a big, technicality that they're not polluting. But we need to acknowledge these issues. And this is especially true with the cruise industry, but other hospitality industries have similar issues. Because a lot of hotels want to be as efficient as possible. They just start throwing shit away. They're like, fuck it, let's just make some more waste because it's easier, it's more efficient. But if they spent their time recycling and doing things properly, their waste production would decrease substantially, and that's a big issue within the hotel industry specifically. Those are ridiculous high amount of waste, and like I know this is true specifically for Wyndham. I'm not sure about other ones, but they have an absurdly high carbon emissions rate and water stress level, and they're Wyndham's a little interesting, but they're generally not helpful towards the environment. And then they make all these claims that, oh, we're gonna collect rainwater to help decrease water stress, and they also say, oh, but it's too expensive to add some rainwater collectors, so we're not going to do it in all of our locations, which are generally the ones that are the most expensive, are the ones that have the highest water stress. Well, those are just my 2 cents. Thank you.